in any space in AI, product market fit is an elusive concept. Your place is not guaranteed, even if you're making hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. So anybody can enter the plain level field and start competing with you. So it becomes like an ongoing battle to recapture product market fit. So we're well over 100 million in revenue, but I don't feel like we have it in the bag. I actually don't even feel like we have product market fit yet. Now, we've had product market fit last month, we had product market fit 3 months ago, but the definition of product market fit in the vibe coding category is changing every single week. In AI product, you only have a chat box that is this big, and all of your activation experience is happening by your conversation with an agent. I think that retention in our world of AI is gonna make or break companies.
Hey, this is Carlos, CEO at Product School and your host on the Product Podcast. Today's guest is Elena Verna, Head of Growth at Lovable, the most popular AI prototyping tool that lets anyone build websites or mobile apps from scratch using natural language prompts, no code required. In under 8 months, Lovable became the fastest company in history to reach $100 million in annual recurring revenue. Before Lovable, Elena helped scale some of the world's most iconic companies, including Dropbox, Amplitude, MongoDB, Miro, and SurveyMonkey. In this episode, we dig into how product managers can vibe code and use AI agents to turn ideas into production-ready applications, the new growth principles defining AI-native companies, best practices for answer engine optimization, the next evolution of SEO, and why brand is the new moat, even more powerful than growth or monetization. This is one of my favorite episodes of all time, packed with insights from one of the sharpest minds in product growth. Let's dive in.
Elena, you are one of the persons that has done the most appearances at Product School by popular demand. So thank you for being back again.
Thank you for having me. I can't believe I'm doing the rounds, but yes, let's finish the full circle.
So you've done ProductCon London.
Yes.
ProductCon AI.
Correct.
And to do ProductCon San Francisco, and hopefully we can get you for ProductCon New York.
We should talk. Yeah,
we should
absolutely.
give you like a trophy or something.
Yes, I need my certificate that I can post.
So they're a Lovable, Head of Growth.
That's right.
Which is very fitting because probably one of the fastest growing companies. I think at least the first company that, or the fastest company to ever hit $100 million in ARR. I think they did it within 8 months.
Yep, that's right. It's pretty wild.
So, I mean, you've done growth at pretty legendary companies, Miro, Amplitude, Superhuman, Dropbox, Lovable. I'm sure I'm missing some here. What is different this time?
This is actually the first company where I'm trying to catch up to the growth that is naturally happening in the market, because most of my roles in previous companies, except for Miro, has been re-accelerating or stabilizing growth away from declining, because it's actually very easy to do growth in a company that is already organically and naturally growing and is operating in what I call fast-moving waters, where the category is just taking you because category expanding, it's a hot one. There's so much hype around it too. So you can almost do no wrong. All you have to do here is just to remove barriers for growth. All of my previous experiences actually have been quite different, where the company is either not growing as fast as they want to, or they are slowing down. And how do you stabilize that? That growth work, actually, I would say, is even harder, because every single fault that you do shows up clear as day, but it's not working, or there's lack of ROI on this, or we had a hypothesis and it does not work. So at Lovable, it's actually a very different role for me. It reminds me of Miro days for sure, because in Miro, I was also in that company during the hypergrowth stage and that curve of like the hockey stick that was going up. But it's a very different job. I wouldn't say that it feels the same as any other head of growth role that I've held.
And when you use the term category, how do you define the current category for Lovable?
Yeah, I'll define it fairly simple, vibe coding. So what vibe coding becomes as a category, I think is still unclear, because the capabilities of what AI can do in vibe coding are changing every single week. And they're honestly just changing from improvements in LLM models alone. So there's like, our product gets better because of LLMs are getting better. It's not even necessarily what we're doing. And then on top of it, we're innovating too of what is it that we can build on top of these LLMs. But I'd say vibe coding is the category that is becoming, and it's starting to swallow some of the older existing categories like website building, no coding, like no code tools, some of the internal toolings that companies have developed before. It's starting to converge because vibe coding is actually a better solution for all of that. But what it means and what it actually is going to be defined even a year from now, who knows?
There are so many vibe coding companies. They keep
Yeah.
popping up like mushrooms, and they all seem to be winning in the sense that they're
Every
generating
week there
revenue.
is another one popping up on our radar. Yeah.
They're all raising capital. They're all
Yeah.
generating revenue. So kind of reminds me of early days in product when there was literally no product tech.
Yeah.
And analytics or for Amplitude or maybe Miro
Yeah.
was also trying to figure out what's the right category. They were trying to go deep into one specific use case,
Yeah.
but then at some point they had to expand. So how do you see the opportunity to, expand from vibe coding into a more of a end-to-end platform?
Yeah. So competition is very bizarre right now. I only believe that in any given category, at least if we to hold history and look at the history as something that will predict the future, there's always only 1, 2, 3 winners. There's never such thing as there's like 10 companies that are wildly successful in the same category. So I think it's fascinating because there's already a very clearly emerging couple of winners here. And it's interesting to see that why is there so many, like you said, mushrooms popping up at the same time? Because yeah, the pie is pretty large, but to catch up to the first mover advantage that other companies have had, including Lovable, it will be pretty difficult. So I'm be curious to see if the VC money, so to speak, is going to help them, or is this going to be a zero-sum game because there's already very clear runner-ups, and it's just the decision of who's going to be the winner, so to speak, in the category. But I think, what was your second part of the question?
Well, it was the part about the expansion into an
Expansion.
end-to-end platform.
Yeah. So the interesting piece with at least Lovable is that when you look at the more traditional tech company, the reason that you needed so much focus and so much vertical focus is because product building was so much more complicated because you had to have all of these interfaces, all of these marketing materials, all of those educational materials. With AI company, it's kind of interesting because agent solves for so much of it. You have a prompt box. Like as a product, the only interface you have with the customer is a prompt box. So all of those vertical use cases and everything else are solved more with your training of an agent, not necessarily have to build the entire interface for the product either. So there's less need to have vertical focus. You can almost go more horizontally right from the beginning because you don't need to develop so many UIs, or worry so much about UX or even do education because agent is just conversing with you and it's doing education on your behalf. So I think that there is still going to be a need for more vertical niches and focuses. And I think that overall software is going to go into a complete micro SaaS development where the barrier to building software is going down, is becoming cheaper and cheaper. With vibe coding, like I can go in and I can create any app that I ever wanted. I don't need to go buy it, and I can just use it for myself. So there's going to be a really big spread of super tight, vertically aligned niche products, and then there's going to be these platforms that serve what these niche use cases are actually doing. But I don't think that verticalization matters as much, especially in the vibe coding category, but I might be proven wrong.
Because when I think about the term platform in the context of product, Amplitude became a platform. They branched out of analytics, right? Miro became a platform, branched out of visual collaboration. But in AI, Lovable could be an example of a platform if they're branched out of vibe coding. But then you have like the mega platforms, the open AIs, right? They recently announced how they're also building their own agent automation platform and suddenly swallowing an entire platform category in the Zapier's NA8. So how do you think of that as a competition?
Yeah, I think we gonna need to see where does OpenAI is gonna want to go and compete in, because we can look at stories of Google. Google tried to go into so many verticals and they've launched so many products, yet there's still very much thriving ecosystems of all of those products, and Google ended up shutting them down. Remember Google Circles,
Yeah.
like them wanting to go into social? That did not happen. Facebook still very much won. I also think that, so I think it's an open question for OpenAI as a whole? Are they going to be a platform or are they going to be solutions? Because I think they can be powering all of these solutions, or they can go and actually be all of the solutions. But it's the existential question that Google had to answer, that Apple had to answer, that Microsoft had to answer. And I think OpenAI is naturally going to go into some of those vertical specializations. But it's the question of how much distinct training do these agents that supply those vertical categories need to have, and does OpenAI have resourcing to go and do those specialized training? So it's more of like the amount of resources that you have for agent that are developed and how much expertise you can have to train it. And you cannot crowdsource it. That's the thing. Like, it needs to have the specialty instructions, so to speak, loaded into it. And this is where the vertical specialization starts to come in. But I guess what I'm talking about is like to really specifically, for example, pick website building only doesn't fully make sense, because the delta between website building versus a app with the front end and back end is just too close now with the solutions that it doesn't make sense to specialize that much.
Even outside tech, I've seen that with other marketplaces like Amazon, where they will still allow an ecosystem of partners while build their own white label solutions if they see a specific demand. So you definitely have to play in the game and integrate with them. But then the question is this a partner, or can they eventually swallow you?
Well, so far, OpenAI and all of the other LLMs are partners and friends, but like you said, you never know what the future is going to bring. And I think there's also going to be a lot of acquisition plays in the future too. So a lot of those LLMs, they're going to sit and wait to see who's going to succeed or be the second runner-up, so to speak. And instead of doing it in-house, they'll probably acquire and just specialize on that. So we'll see. I think the next 2 to 3 years are going to be fascinating.
On the next 2 to 3 months too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I want to play a game with you.
Okay.
Is based on one of your previous posts. So you talk about the growth playbook, or the all growth playbook is done. And you came up with 9 principles for the new growth playbook.
11.
Okay. Well, there might be 2 more that you need to bring up here, because I only have 9.
Okay.
Are you game?
Yes, let's do it.
Cool. This is you. You said PMF is a treadmill.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
When you think about traditional company growth and life cycle of traditional company, what we've been taught to think about it is you reach product market fit. Like, that's the first big threshold that you have. You reach product market fit usually by getting users that are retaining with you at some light scale. You don't need to be owning anything, but you have an inflow of customers, you can retain them, and some monetization starts to take place. So you actually can do a value exchange. And this is when you maybe at about $1 million in recurring revenue or somewhere along those lines, and you're able to show retention. Well, interestingly enough, the way that I feel at Lovable, so we're well over 100 million in revenue, but I don't feel like we have it in the bag. I actually don't even feel like we have product market fit yet. Now, we've had product market fit last month. We had product market fit 3 months ago, but the definition of product market fit in the vibe coding category is changing every single week, because again, LLMs are getting better. There's more opportunities of what actually is possible, and customer expectations are changing like there's no tomorrow. The bar is raising so quickly. This is actually, I think, the fastest habitual change in our customers that we've ever seen, because usually it took years to change habits of customers. And all of a sudden with the AI, it's like matter of weeks or months where we adopt new capabilities as something that we now expect out of any interaction with AI in terms of the precision, hallucinations, what actually is possible. So I just think that in the AI, if you in any space in AI, product market fit is an elusive concept, because when category is still evolving so quickly, your place is not guaranteed, even if you're making hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. And especially with so much competition, because the cost of building has really come down. So anybody can enter the plain level field and start competing with you. So it becomes like a ongoing battle to recapture product market fit. There's no such thing as you hit it, then you scale it, then you go to your second horizon of innovation, then you scale that. You're just constantly trying to hit it, a little scale, but did you hit it again? Okay, you hit it again, now a little scale. But it's happening at such a fast pace that I've never seen before.
What I imagine is very hard is learning while you are winning. Because like if you are losing traction, at least you know something is not right. But when you are growing, like how do you maintain that beginner's mindset?
Well, you also have no really chance to learn much because everything is changing so quickly. You don't have cycles to actually get full-fledged feedback. So you have to act so much on intuition. And you have to have that right vision, because if the technology is already there and yet you're not using it, you already lost the game because somebody else is going to capitalize on it. And all of a sudden you lost your product market fit because that became all of a sudden new expectation. And that happens in a matter of weeks, not years that it used to take. So much of it is based on these people. And like we have these incredible engineering leaders that like have this vision of what they want to take Lovable. And we talk about it and we try to capture as much of the customer feedback and loops as we can, but it's almost not existent because it doesn't yet exist. So you have to pick a target and go after it and just hope that you pick the right direction and the right destination. And we're all doing it right now at the moment. And so far for Lovable, it's been the bets have paid off. Not all of them, but some of the bigger swings that we've put together have paid off, and they've been fairly intuitive internally. But it's like it's never ending. I've never seen a company that has to almost prove itself that it belongs in the space every month or 2 months.
I think that is incredible. Like to try to maintain a beginner's mindset in an environment where like you are growing. So technically on the surface, it feels like you don't have to, but definitely you do. And I think that connects with the concept of being your own customer, but like I mean it. And I know that you sign up for your own product on a daily and I keep an eye like, so how do you really ensure that you are not getting behind as the customer of your own product?
As I said, I've mentioned it many times before too, like I live my own customer journey. I vibe code every single week, my own apps. I vibe code for my children. I vibe code for myself. And I sometimes think, I'm getting paid to vibe code. It's really amazing. Like the realization that like I've made it. I feel like I've made it finally. But it's collective talking about where we think the destination is. And that's like almost becomes your proprietary strategy of where do you think it's going to end up and what are the steps to get there. And what is the big enough swings that we need to take to get there? But it's almost like being in that startup mode all the time because you have to make a hypothesis and then you have to sprint towards it because there's a race going on and learn along the way really quickly, just knowing that the moment that you reach destination, the goalpost has changed immediately, probably before you even launched. So that velocity becomes one of the critical things that you can maintain, and it's a do or die of the shipping velocity that you can have in the company now. It's something that shipping velocity of Lovable is something that I've never seen at any other company, but it almost becomes a means of survival. It's like one of our moats of the velocity of development.
What is that velocity?
So we look at it, we ship things every single day. So we don't have like 2-week sprints across the company because sometimes like there's even like monolithic once a month release or like every 6 months you do something. No, we push to production on every minute, on the minute. We have like this internal shipped channel because that's really the only way to keep up what's going in the product. I'm like in that ship channel all the time. What did we release today? Because everybody is just running at all of the fast speeds. It's not pre-planned. There's no really big commitment that is happening. It's like people finding opportunities and they're going after it. But we also tier our releases, so we kind of understand how to talk to the market and how to tell them. And we have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, which is very standard. Tier 1 releases is those big moments, and we try to have them every 3 months. That we just had cloud launch, for example. It's just a completely seamless backend to every app that you build. That was a tier 1 release. Then that's every 3 months. Then you have tier 2 releases that are like voice mode. That's a tier 2 release. It's a cool feature, but it's not going to make or break our product. It's not new functionality. That needs to release every week in our world. And then tier 3 releases of whether it's fixes, optimizations, or tweaks to make better experience every single day.
That sounds like the dream for a growth person.
Yes, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Second principle, I know we're getting into and detouring you because there's so much I want to cover, but like there's one more here. You said growth isn't really responsible for activation anymore. The core interaction is often stripped down.
Yeah, that one is. I had epiphany when I was talking to Kieran, actually, from HubSpot, because I've spent so much time writing about how much growth is supposed to be responsible for activation, that defining that setup moment, aha moment, your first habit formation, that is like number one low-hanging fruit, however you want to call it, that growth team should be working on, that just amplifies the entire ecosystem. You'll monetize better if you activate better, you retain better if you activate better, you'll acquire better if you activate better. But when I came to Lovable, I even after like 2 months of reflecting, I'm like, I haven't touched activation. What is going on? And I haven't been pulled into it. Like, I haven't felt that was a priority. So I had to step back and think, like, what is happening here? Why? Like, I've been preaching to the market that activation is something that growth teams should be responsible. Yet I stepped into this role and I'm like not even doing what I'm talking about. But then I understood that in AI products, and this is very specific to AI products, I wouldn't give this advice to a traditional tech company at this point. But in AI product, you only have a chat box that is this big. And all of your activation experience is happening by your conversation with an agent. Whatever that agent is doing, whether it's planning tasks for you, whether it's writing marketing campaigns for you, whether it's building websites for you. But when experience is condensed into this just one box, what are you gonna work on to optimize it? It actually becomes a core product's responsibility to activate people appropriately. And it's all through that agentic conversation, through AI conversation that is happening. So I work a lot on standing up product-led loops, still on monetization of like, when does it intersect, all of the experiences. Retention is something that I stress and obsess about, but activation, core product is responsible for it. And we have an amazing core product leader that's all he thinks about. And honestly, it works so much better when it's not offloaded to a growth team to work on activation, because that just makes core products so much stronger and so much more embedded into the entire customer journey. But at the end of it all, just like to wrap it up, there's just not many surfaces to optimize. There's no steps to condense or increase. It's literally just prompt box. So there's not much growth work that really can happen there.
So how do you partner with the product team? What's the actual org design?
Yeah, so I sit parallel to our core product as well as to our marketing. So I'm responsible for product-led growth of a portion of Lovable. So that self-serve experience, that self-serve revenue. So core product ships features. My growth team sometimes ships features now too, because if we see that this is something that will improve retention or product-led acquisition, we go and we just create it. So the lines are definitely a lot more blurred compared to any other role that I've had. But still, I obsess about those product-led loops. I obsess about retention, communication with the customer, education, inspiration, and that ecosystem building, versus core product is obsessed about how successful can the first build be, how many of them can get to the point where it's a usable app, how many of them can get to the point where it's a usable product and it starts to get customers. So they are only building features in that, versus I'm still trying to smooth out all of the user journeys around it to make sure that our product sells itself, it acquires on its own, and it's highly habitual in nature.
So for someone who's so data-driven, and I'm bringing a third point here, what is your take on the role of brand?
Yeah. So brand is an interesting topic. I think like if you ask anybody who knows Lovable, they would say that Lovable has a very strong brand. Well, the fact of the matter is we don't have brand marketing at all. In fact, our marketing is a lot more focused on product marketing, on social, on influencer, not brand. We haven't had any brand campaigns. We haven't spent on any brand channels. We do have our first billboard going up, so we're very excited. But all I'm saying is that brand has become all of a sudden a product exercise. And brand used to be defined of like you hire brand marketing or you have a brand department and the tone of voice and the vision and like the look and feel of the brand and all of the like the brand spend, and that doesn't have attribution, but like what percentage of our revenue should we be spending on brand. I think it's changing because there's such a huge crowd that is in the market right now of all of these products that you need to stand out not through the marketing message, you need to stand out through your product experience. And every single touch point with your product has to communicate your brand. Now, Lovable has a little bit of a cheat sheet here because our name is Lovable because we want to create lovable products for the world. So when people come in, we want them to build something that is lovable. Like that is our kind of vision and mission. However, we also have internally saying of like, is this experience lovable? And if the moment that you say something is unlovable, it's all hands on deck on fixing it. So we look at it through the lens of does it invoke a lovable feeling within you? And every single product interaction and release goes through that cycle of evaluation. And I love it because it's actually like experiencing brand through product, I think is such a superpower and it's a moat. It's the ability for you to stand out. It's ability for you to activate that word of mouth loop. But not a lot of product teams think about brand as their responsibility. And I think that that is something that is going to drastically change in the next year.
And when you use the term mode next to brand, that's extremely powerful. But I think the key is when you make product own that brand.
Yes, exactly. So marketing will still support it and marketing will still amplify it. But if it's not owned by product in software, I think the amount of money that you'll have to spend to tell your brand story is going to be impossible to justify in the future. Like your product has to take accountability over brand. But listen, like we ship products like we I don't know, like we fix a sink. Like we're like, okay, checkbox, done, shipped. Like very little product teams take pride into what does that interaction actually make you to feel? How does it come across? Does it connect all of the pieces together? Does it fit within the feeling and emotion that we want to invoke when people interact with product? I think product managers, like when we were going through PLG revolutions, like, oh my gosh, we have to now be responsible for monetization. What the hell? Well, now we're going for brand evolution too. Oh my gosh, product managers are going to have to be responsible for brand. Buckle up.
When are you going to get the .com domain?
Oh, we're trying. We're trying. It's not for the lack of trying. How about that?
Next one is the old growth marketing playbook doesn't hold. SEO plus paid plus content is no longer enough.
Yeah, so what I mean by that, I've done lots of marketing roles in the past where I've been responsible for marketing teams. And the playbook has always been the same. I always like 80% of it, you just come in and you plop it into the company. You put out your marketing site. You start investing into SEO and like the non-branded content. You start doing some SEM after you start getting some of this working. You put your blog out. You do some social media posts about your releases. Maybe you activate some partnerships and events and so on. Problem is like that's no longer how companies grow. And especially in AI native company, I feel like out of what I know in marketing, I can only apply at most 30% compared to 80% that I felt like I could copy paste almost and pattern match to previously. The biggest differences that I see is that number one, word of mouth is the way to cut through the noise. But again, it comes back to that brand being your product and people wanting to share about you because you wowed them. And the only way to wow them is the product. So word of mouth is so important, especially for companies that are just starting up. Like in that startup mode, it's one of the strongest channels that you need to figure out how to activate while you figure out what else that you can pull into your ecosystem to help you grow as well. The second piece that I see is the founder social. Oh my gosh, how important it is for CEOs, for co-founders, for leadership teams, for employees to be vocal about how they're building, what they're doing, and be public about it. Our customers want to connect with people that are building behind the products because it gives that product more humanity. It gives you like more connection as to what is actually happening as opposed to being this obfuscated, cold thing that you just like use for utilitarian value. And our CEO, Anton, is very active on social. Oh my gosh, it's like it's a gift that just keeps on giving. And we have other people that are very active as well. And it's harder for traditional tech companies that have legal teams. They're like, can't do anything, can't say anything about us because there's all of these different legal risks that you can get yourself into. But if you can trust your employees that they have the company's best interest at heart, it is an organic channel that is far stronger than SEO. It's far stronger than any paid marketing that you can lit up. The third piece that I see that is quite different is that creator economy is absolutely booming. Where before, if you thought about influencer marketing, it was very much a B2C practice. Like, oh, you have direct-to-consumer products. So like, yeah, you need to do TikTok and Instagram. Now you need to do TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Like, YouTube is so huge right now for B2B products too. Because influencers and creators is where eyeballs are at. So what we're seeing is that they're not going to search and like paid marketing or display advertising or even paid social. None of that works. What works is influencer marketing and really empowering the creators to talk about your brand, to talk about your product, to experience it in front of their audience. And that's where the eyeballs are at right now. And every single company should be there. And it's YouTube, huge YouTube. I would have never invested into YouTube the way that I would invest now 5 years ago. YouTube has done very well for itself in terms of capturing a lot of attention. And then even TikTok and Instagram are absolutely huge. LinkedIn X are really good for more employee posting, but some paid marketing and influencer share that there's definitely is available as well. But the creator economy is just absolutely huge, something that I would have never thought about before. And all of the rest of the stuff, like paid marketing, like SEM, yeah, great. We'll do it because there's some opportunity to do it with good payback period, but it's not going to be the channel of why you succeed and grow. And then, of course, we have to talk about AI search, of like how is it that you show up with ChatGPT and so on, and like try to figure out how to crack that, because that is something that is very nebulous still at the moment of how to succeed in that channel.
And you gave a talk at ProductCon AI around how a lot of the distribution channels are collapsing
Yeah.
with AI and how some of these trends that you just mentioned are emerging. So what is a good way to try to get that first mover advantage?
So the channels that I just talked about, there's no first mover advantage there anymore. That is where the game is. That's where your customers are. So you just have to play there. On the first mover advantage, you have to look at the new releases that these large platforms are making. So let's look at OpenAI. Just yesterday, they had a huge release where they opened up their app store, where all of a sudden they have an open SDK open, and then they actually will pull in products and perform tasks as customers chatting in let's say ChatGPT. That is new. That is the first time that you can actually show up as a product in chatting experience with AI. That may be our new big channel. Who knows? If you want a first mover advantage, you should be jumping on those opportunities super fast.
I remember for me, when Facebook launched events or live streaming, we were one of the very first ones to do that. LinkedIn launched events, we did the same thing, and the platforms were heavily incentivized to drive adoption for those new features, and that's how we got a lot of momentum. And then, of course, it became more
It
mainstream
saturates,
and
exactly. But because there's so much consumer shift in how they discover things away from just traditional search and into conversational AI experience. There's also social clampdown that is happening. I mean, try to link out of social on your posts. Your algorithms are gonna absolutely not. You can't do it because they're trying to maintain eyeballs on their in their platform too. So all of these traditional channels of search and social are collapsing. Social is still accessible through influencers for sure and creators, but not through, let's say, paid or like you on your company account posting. That's why you have to, there's something that is going to happen in the space. I don't know what it is. For a while, for example, it was if you want to succeed in AI search, you should have done Reddit, because so much of the AI search was coming from Reddit. Well, they shut it down like last week. So now all of a sudden it dropped to nearly zero. So now Reddit is nothing. So it's like it's changing so quickly. I can't even tell what that next big thing is going to be. I'm looking at the OpenAI's app marketplace right now as like a potential, but you just have to keep your eyes open all the time.
Well, let's keep going.
Yeah.
You said marketing can't keep up with shipping velocity.
Yeah, that one's tough because all of our marketing processes and marketing structures were created on top of the development teams that shipped at most once a month, probably even less. Maybe once every 3 months, there was big releases that involved marketing. And now with AI native employees and the velocity of shipping that is happening, when you're releasing something every single day, how can marketing possibly keep up when they need, and especially there's no lead time. My team, they like I sometimes we like they pick up a task and like an hour later it's like, oh, it's done, it's out. I'm like, okay, great. Let me catch up with you to announce it to our customers. So like you can't have any lead time because there is no lead time anymore. And marketing is so like, we need a couple of weeks, we need a couple of that doesn't exist anymore. In a couple of months, you might lose your product market fit. What do you mean a lead time for a release in a couple of months? And then second of all, the velocity is happening so quickly, we don't have the processes. So a lot of times what I'm starting to see is that marketing teams that are really structured in that, this is how releases happen, they end up holding development team back because they're like, oh, you can't release, we're not ready. It's like if you hear that phrase, you can't release, marketing is not ready, like have a deep heart to heart with your marketing team because like it's not an option to be able to even voice that anymore. So marketing right now I think is in a big scramble of trying to figure out how to support this velocity. And we don't really have frameworks for that. So we will see how marketing is going to evolve and change.
I always tell my team that especially you're not Apple. You can do worldwide releases every single day. Like nobody goes to bed thinking about you.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point that is also happening like companies that are at a different growth stage. At the same time, I just want to clarify, you don't consider yourself a marketer, right? You're putting yourself a growth category.
I don't think anybody can have a privilege of not considering themselves a marketer anymore. I even look at our engineers. They're marketers now too, because a lot of times they have to handle their own releases and their own GTM strategies, so to speak, for those releases. We can't afford to only have marketing be responsible for marketing nowadays. Every single one of us has to take on marketing hat on.
Well, let's talk about that, the role of the GTM engineer and how it's growing now. Like, how are you thinking about that?
So GTM engineer, I see in two ways materialize. I'm actually like not clear where that's going to completely converge. I see GTM engineer replacing a lot of sales roles. So GTM engineer is like a combination of BDR and SDR and AE and AM and success person all wrapped up in like this one person, which basically means that it's more of a generalist when it comes to sales that is able to handle all of the functions from prospecting to actually having conversations, to closing, to renewals, to expansion, and to any success issues of additional adoption that needs to be driven. But I also see GTM engineering that are also replacing RevOps. So they're actually piping all of these things together for GTM to be able to run faster at the same time. And both roles right now are being conflated in the market because I kind of see them both exist and mean two different things. It's like very similar to what growth used to be. Who knows what growth is? Like, so right now we're like in that same space, I think, with GTM engineering. But regardless, it's coming back to the same concept of a person wearing multiple hats, because the times of specialization, when you have such a rapid iteration and velocity happening, you just can't afford specialties, and there's no need for optimizations in specialties. You need more generalists.
Getting to the end, Lina, you said growth, and actually you touched on this before, but you said growth ships features now. I'm curious about that and how that conflicts potentially with the other teams that are in charge of shipping.
I've actually been my entire career of like, no, growth does not ship features. We work on distribution. So we work on acquisition, activation, monetization, retention questions, but core ships features, we distribute those features. What I found interesting is that when we can able to do a lot of these optimizations so quickly because of our shipping velocity, because of how much trust we have into every single developer on the team, where they can make a lot of the decisions. There's no up and down approvals or speccing being done. It's just like, here's the problem, go solve it. And they just go and solve it. That we actually have room to take on some of the feature work. Now, we don't take anything platform work or infrastructure work because we don't want to get in there and like mess it up, but because we have like teams that are dedicated to it. But some of the other features, like, why not? We have cycles. We believe that this is going to improve retention. Let's go. So to me, it's just a more of an outcome of our increased velocity that at least this growth team that I'm working with right now is definitely the fastest that I've ever worked with in terms of their ability to execute on a number of people that we have. But shipping features is... We still have conversations with core, to be fair. We're not just like roguely doing it. So we're like, hey, we think we're going to do this. Cool with you? Or did you already have this on the roadmap? And if we really believe that it's going to help with growth, we just go and do it.
So are there engineers that are fully dedicated to growth?
Correct. Yes. So we have a dedicated growth engineering team at Lovable that sits, they still report everybody to our CTO and our co-founder, Fabian. But they are 100% dedicated for only growth efforts that I'm working with them on.
Is there any bonus principle we haven't touched on yet?
Bonus principle. I think the two of them that I will just say is that great product is still the best way to grow at the end of the day, because right now, especially, as I'm going to sound like a broken record, but with this cost of software development going down, it's no longer just enough to ship an experience. You have to ship an amazing experience in order for it to matter. And continuously shipping amazing experiences accelerates all of your growth efforts. So it just becomes like a much more better soil to grow on top of, as opposed to it being completely dried out or like unwatered and then like you're trying to stick a seed into it. So I think core overall can participate in growth efforts a lot more if they're mindful with what they're actually putting out there to customers, and that matters more now than ever, I think. And then the second one that I will just say as a bonus is that I think that retention in our world of AI is gonna make or break companies. So every single growth team, like I would say before, like activation, yeah, no, retention. This is something that you should be stressing about every single day, because we're right now definitely living in the hyped AI era. And the only companies that will succeed are the ones that are gonna see above benchmark retention rates, both from their user engagement as well as their paid retention as well. So that's something that you just have to obsess about. Growth teams that are responsible for acquisition are going to die. Those companies are going to die if you're not having somebody who is stressing about it all the time.
That's incredible to hear that from you, because you change your mind on it, right?
Yep.
Like, you used to advocate very heavily for activation. Also, on your previous point, what you said about best products win, that's the classic Google mantra that got trashed for a long time, where like people started saying, no, good distribution wins even if the product is not the best.
You can't build a company without good distribution, but you can bake distribution into your product experience. And that is the difference. It's not just about having the most beautiful product. That's never been the case. Most beautiful products that don't have distribution hooked into that experience still end up not known by anybody. So distribution is still the king, the queen, whatever you want to call it, but it has to sit on the bar for product, I think, has gone up. And I think the best products with distribution is the one that's going to win. So there's still that distribution caveat. And that's honestly the hardest thing right now to figure out, because it's too easy to build products right now.
Thank you, Elena, for being on the show and breaking down the new growth playbook here.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.